Tom's hands shook as he held a paper cup filled with cider. The warmth seeped through, but it did little to chase the chill lodged in his bones. The laughter of their children floated lightly in the air, mingling with the smell of roasting corn and pumpkin pie. It all felt so distant, like a life he was watching from behind a glass window. He forced himself to maintain a smile as he watched Lily and Ethan darting between the stalls, their innocent joy piercing the gloom that surrounded him. Sometimes, in brief moments, he felt a flicker of the love that once ignited his world. But with it came the weight of the betrayal, heavy and unyielding. Jessica stood at a distance, her fingers nervously tracing the edges of a knitted scarf. She watched their kids, her heart tangled in the same web of hope and regret. Every laugh from the children felt like a reminder of the fracture in their family. She had made choices that had hurt them, all choices that had seemed to offer solace but left her feeling more isolated than ever. As she turned to join the children, she stumbled into Ben, his familiar grin causing her heart to lurch. "Hey there," he said, his tone light, yet she could see the shift in the atmosphere surrounding them. "How are you holding up?" "Just trying to breathe," she replied softly, searching his face for reassurance. The smile he offered felt warm, but it also ignited a painful conflict inside her. She knew she should step back. Yet there was a part of her that craved the understanding he always had. In that moment, Tom caught sight of them from across the festival grounds. A flash of anger flared, and for an instant, all he could see was betrayal. The weight of it twisted a knife in his gut. His breath quickened, and he felt the urge to march over. But as he took a step forward, another thought stopped him. It was the children, their excited chatter weaving in and out, wrapping around him like a safety net. He couldn't ruin this for them. Not here. Not now. Tom swallowed hard, his eyes glued to what might be the last thread tethering them to one another. Perhaps, this festival could bring something different. Perhaps, it could heal the fissures. Jessica noticed him standing there, a statue amidst the whirl of color and chaos. A tilt of her head sent pangs of longing through her. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Should she walk away? Dive into the chasm of pain? Or should she take a chance to climb back to the solid ground of their shared lives? As the evening progressed and the cool air deepened, the festival lights shimmered like stars, illuminating the shadows between them. For a moment, their eyes locked as if time melted away. In that fleeting connection, something flickered, the tiniest ember of hope. "Tom," she whispered, wanting to bridge the chasm just as he needed to hear her voice, but the words stumbled on her tongue. The tension between them felt thick, suffocating. "Jessica," he replied, and she saw the battle in his eyes, the desire to forgive struggling against the hurt. What followed was a silence heavy with possibilities. They stood there, amidst a cascade of memories, fights, heartbreaks, and forgiveness yet to be decided. Could they confront the impossible truths ahead? Would the flickering light between them be enough to guide them back home? The night sky draped over them in velvety darkness, carrying a promise or a warning. As their children's laughter danced in the night, Tom felt the tremor of decisions rising in his chest. Could they navigate the treacherous waters ahead? And in that moment, he knew he had to ask the most crucial question of all: what do we do now? The breath of the crowd surged as anticipation hung in the air. Would they take that first step together, or would the shadows consume them both? The moment lingered, suspended in the cool October air. Tom's heartbeat echoed in his ears, a reminder of the urgency curling around them. Jessica's gaze dropped as if searching for answers in the ground beneath her feet, and he felt the weight of her struggle. It was as if the world around them faded, leaving just the two of them lost in a tide of unspoken words. "Tom," she finally breathed, hesitating, I never wanted this to happen." Her voice trembled, laden with emotion. "I've been trying to find my way back, but back to what, Jess?" He interrupted, a mix of frustration and longing bubbling up. "Back to the life we had, or back to yourself?" Her eyes flashed with hurt, but there was understanding there, too. The flicker of the carnival lights highlighted the shadows of their past, memories weaving through the joyous chaos around them. The laughter of their children stood in stark contrast to the silence hanging between them. "We can't fix this by pretending everything's okay," he continued, feeling the raw honesty slip through his lips. "It's too broken. Isn't it?" She raised her chin, meeting his intense gaze. "Maybe it's broken, but not beyond repair. Can't you see the kids? They don't care about what's happened. They just want us to be, us again." A wave of conflicting emotions washed over Tom. It was so easy to focus on the pain. He had spent weeks wrapped in it, wallowing in the anger of betrayal. Yet, as he looked at Jessica, he saw a woman searching for a way forward, a way back to their life, their family. "We have to face the truth," he said, his voice tighter now. "All of it. The disappointment, the grief, the fact that you hurt me, Jess." She nodded, her eyes glistening in the light, a silent acknowledgement of the damage they'd done, to each other, and to their family. "I know I have to own that. And I will. If we're going to try again, it starts with honesty. I can't expect you to forgive me without being completely vulnerable." Tom felt his heart squeeze. Could he really face the truth? Could he allow himself to feel the pain of betrayal again if it might offer a glimpse of healing? The hustle of the festival continued around them, but all he could focus on was Jessica, standing before him, ready to open her heart. There was a courage there that both scared and inspired him. "Maybe we need to talk more," he suggested, swallowing the lump in his throat, still unsure of the path ahead. "Somewhere quiet." She smiled slowly, the corners of her mouth lifting in a way he hadn't seen in so long. "That sounds good. Just us and the truth." Their children called out, their laughter cutting through the thick air, a reminder that they were still a family flawed and fractured, but united, nonetheless. As they turned to walk toward the quieter edge of the festival, hand in hand, Tom felt an unfamiliar sense of hope stirring within him. Maybe this could be a beginning. But as they stepped away from the noise, a shadow from the crowd caught Tom's eye. Ben was watching them, an unreadable expression on his face. "Tom," Jessica whispered, her grip tightening. What if we can't handle this together?" He finished for her, his chest tightening again. Their conversation dissolved into uncertainty, the weight of unanswered questions pressing heavy on his heart. Would speaking the truth open old wounds, or could it lead to something far more beautiful, a chance at redemption? Together, they stepped forward into the unknown, both terrified and hopeful, as the carnival lights twinkled behind them, illuminating their journey ahead. What awaited them on the other side of honesty? They found a corner of the carnival that was quieter, the sounds of laughter and music muffled like a distant memory. It was a small area, lined with low benches where families rested, and only a handful of people were scattered about. The kaleidoscope of lights dimmed slightly here, allowing the cool October air to wrap around them. Tom sat first, his body tense as he waited for Jessica to settle beside him. "Do you remember when we came here on our first date?" she asked, a hint of nostalgia creeping into her voice. Tom smiled weakly. How could he forget? They had spent the day wandering through the fair, getting lost in each other's laughter, sharing cotton candy in the crisp air. "Yeah, you made me go on that horrendous ride," he chuckled, shaking his head. "I thought I was going to hurl." Jessica laughed softly, her expression bittersweet. "I thought it was hilarious watching you scream like a little kid." Yet that laughter faded quickly, leaving behind the raw tension. As silences stretched, Jessica turned to him, her eyes serious. "We need to talk about the truth. About everything." Tom nodded, his throat dry. "Go ahead." "I had my reasons," she began, her voice quaking, "but they don't excuse the pain I caused you. I felt lost, Tom. Like I woke up one day and didn't recognize myself anymore. And in that confusion, I made choices that hurt us." "Choices?" he echoed, the word hanging in the air heavy with pain. "You mean you had an affair?" The admission stung, and he could feel his heart racing again. "Yes. she said, tears flooding her eyes. I do regret it, but it wasn't just about that. It was about feeling invisible. I thought I could reclaim a part of myself that I felt I had lost. But I see now how misguided I was. And how selfish. Tom's breath quickened, memories swirling silent dinners, her absence at home, the sorrow that draped over them like a fog. You made choices that destroyed us, Jess, he whispered, pain gnawing at him. You can't expect me to just forgive and forget. I don't, she replied, her voice strong but trembling. But what I do want is to move forward. I want to rebuild what we had, brick by brick, but I know it won't be easy. You don't trust me. And why should you? The truth of her words echoed in his chest, a painful reminder that trust wasn't something you could just wish back. I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, he admitted, staring at the ground beneath him. It's terrifying to think of taking that leap again. Maybe it's not about the leap, she suggested softly. Maybe it's about taking small steps. We could go to therapy, start with counseling, talk about everything in a safe space. He felt her gaze on him, searching, pleading. We can figure this out. I want to help you heal, and I want to heal too. Sitting there, immersed in all the hurt, Tom felt a flicker of something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in a long time. Possibility. Could they really find their way back through the wreckage? Or was this just a naive hope wrapped in desperation? Okay, he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. Let us try. But you'll have to meet me halfway. No more secrets. I need to know we can do this together. A tear slipped down her cheek, but this time it was one of relief. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for giving us a chance. Yet as they sat together, renewed hope mingling with ghosts of their past, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that shadows were still looming. He glanced back toward the festival, anxiety creeping in again. What would be waiting for them when they returned? And how far would they have to dig to uncover the truth beneath the pain? In that moment of silence, Ben's figure loomed again in his mind. An unsettling thought crossed Tom's mind. Was there something more that weighed on their path, something he still didn't know? What if there's more we haven't uncovered? Tom murmured, his heart racing with the uncertainty hanging in the air. Jessica looked at him, anxiety flashing in her eyes. What do you mean? He took a deep breath, the past clashing with the present. What if there are other truths still hiding, waiting to come out? As the carnival music rose in the background, the sense of impending chaos crackled like electricity between them. Could their journey through hurt truly lead to redemption, or had they only opened the floodgates to something even darker? Tom's pulse quickened at his own words, each syllable sinking deeper into the weight of the moment. Jessica's expression turned wistful, her brow furrowing with thought. You think there's more? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. I can't shake the feeling, he confessed. Ben, he always had that way of slipping in and out of our lives, like a shadow. It's like he knew things he didn't say. Things that could hurt. Jessica's face paled. Tom, Ben is a different story. He wasn't just some guy. He was my escape when I didn't know how to face the truth. An escape from what? He pressed, urgency igniting his heart. She hesitated, biting her lip like she was weighing every syllable. From the hurt I was feeling in our marriage, and from myself. I thought being with him would help me find me again. Instead you lost yourself completely, Tom responded, bitterness creeping into his voice despite his attempts to remain calm. He was treading dangerous waters. And now, here we are, about to unpack all of this like it's just some box of old memories. Her shoulders slumped, and he could see how desperately she wanted to keep the past contained, to avoid wrestling with the demons it still held. Ben loved the way I felt when I was with him. It was addictive. But it wasn't real, Tom. He looked deep into her eyes, searching for that flicker of resolve. Then what is real, Jess? Do you think you can hold all of this together? This truth about us, what you did, and whatever lies waiting in the shadows. Silence wrapped around them, heavy with unspoken fears and unresolved anger. Jessica let out a shaky breath. I want to face it all. Even if it means confronting the parts of me I've been running from. Tom raised an eyebrow. Are you sure? This isn't about just saying the words. We need to pull at those threads, dig them up. What if it destroys us for good? Then we face it together, she insisted, a spark igniting in her voice. I refuse to let our past define the future we could have. But I can't promise it will be easy. He drew in a steadying breath, trying to convince himself that the flicker of hope within them was strong enough to withstand whatever lay ahead. Then let us at least start talking about it, he agreed finally, half-heartedly. Suddenly, a loud rustle echoed behind them, breaking their moment. A cluster of children darted past, their giggles ringing through the quiet space. Tom's heart lurched. The innocence surrounding them felt like a cruel contrast to their aching truth. Do you really want to do this? He prompted, looking at her intensely. Do you think we can pull this apart without losing everything? I have to try, Jessica responded, her determination shining through the cracks of her worry. I need to be honest, Tom. I want to show you who I really am, despite the mess I've made. Okay. He nodded slowly. But if we do this, if we expose everything, I need to know you won't shy away. No running back to the shadows. I promise, she whispered fiercely, even as uncertainty tugged at the corners of her spirit. I'll stand in the light, even if it hurts. Tom smiled sadly, the first real smile he'd felt in ages. For a moment, it felt like they were united, both willing to shine a light into the darkness they'd been trapped in. But it was an uneasy truce, the kind that left him feeling both hopeful and afraid. The temptation to inquire more about Ben still throbbed in his chest, yet he pushed it aside for fear of what it might unleash. They would tackle this together. Step by step. As they got up from the bench and headed back into the thrumming heart of the carnival, an uncontrollable jolt of anxiety surged through Tom. He glanced over his shoulder as if expecting to see echoes of their past chasing them. He feared that every smile around them masked deeper truths that could tear them apart once more. What is going to happen when we find them? Tom finally asked, almost dreading the answer. Jessica paused, her gaze fixed ahead, where the dazzling lights blended with shadows. I don't know, but I think we're already walking down that path. And it may lead us to the answers we've been too scared to find. With dread intertwined with hope, they plunged back into the swirling lights of the carnival, unaware of how deep their journey would dig, nor how dangerous the answers might be. The air buzzed with laughter and the sweet scent of cotton candy, drowning out the weight of their conversation. Yet, the brightness around them felt like a mask, hiding the uncertainty gnawing at Tom's stomach. Jessica walked slightly ahead, her profile illuminated by the glow of the carnival lights. Tom could see the tension in her shoulders, the tiny tremors that betrayed her courage. The chaos of the carnival seemed to mirror the swirling emotions inside him. They moved through the crowd, glimpsing joyful families and couples holding hands, some even stealing kisses. Jess, what do you want to do first? He asked, trying to sound casual, but his turbulent mind betrayed him. Do we hit a game? Grab some food? His attempt at normalcy fell flat. Jessica turned, suddenly serious. I think we need to talk to someone, a stranger who knows what we're going through. A stranger? His brow furrowed. At a carnival? Yes, someone who can see it all without judgment, she insisted, and Tom felt a rush of curiosity. Who was she thinking of? Before he could ask, she spotted a booth labeled fortune teller. It sat under a shimmering canopy, draped in purple fabric. Intrigued, yet unsettled, Tom followed her instinctively. You can't be serious. You think a fortune teller can help us? Jessica smiled half-heartedly, lighting a spark of hope in Tom's chest. It's not about believing in the future. It's about speaking our truths and inviting clarity. He shrugged, uncertain. But as they approached, something inside him shifted. The door creaked open, and a woman with deep-set eyes and a warm smile beckoned them closer. "Come in. I sense you're both in search of something." The room smelled of incense, the dim lighting wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. Tom could hear the whisper of cards as the woman shuffled them. "Have you been here before?" Jessica asked her, voice trembling. "No," the woman replied, her gaze penetrating. "But the energy around you tells stories. You've both been carrying heavy burdens." Tom looked at Jessica, whose eyes shimmered with vulnerability. "We have," he said. "We are trying to find a way to face our past." "Facing the past is the first step," the fortune teller said. "But do you believe that you can handle the truth of it? Not all paths lead to light, you know." "I'm willing to try," Jessica said resolutely, clenching her fists. "Very well." The woman dealt the cards, and with each turn, the air thickened with anticipation. Tom could feel his heart pounding, the sense of uncertainty escalating between them. "This card represents betrayal, and it's surrounded by the ones you've lost," she said, her voice steady but filled with empathy. "True confession sometimes requires sacrifice." Tom gulped. Images of Ben flashed in his mind, the shadow that had haunted every crevice of their lives. "What am I supposed to do with that?" The fortune teller looked straight into Tom's eyes. "You have to decide if you're willing to bear the weight of what you uncover, or if the truth will shatter the foundation you've built." Seizing on the moment, Jessica took a breath. "What if we rebuild on honesty?" "Then you will find yourself renewed on the other side," the woman replied. "But be warned, this journey will test everything you believe about love and trust." A chill crept up Tom's spine. What would they have to lose? "Can you handle the truth, Tom?" Jessica whispered, her voice a trembling flame against the cool shadows. The moment hung between them, poised at the edge of what they might discover together. He could feel their combined fears pushing against the walls of his heart, begging for an answer, a resolution. "I want to," he replied, throat dry. "But what if the truth is worse than we fear?" The atmosphere thickened, electrified. Each word spoken felt like a weight on their shoulders. They glanced at the fortune teller, who observed them with an almost unsettling calmness, ready to reveal what lay ahead. Though fear washed over him, hope flickered in Tom's heart. They were stepping closer to that edge. He clenched his fists, ready to leap. What answers awaited them within this unfolding story of betrayal and redemption? The carnival sounds faded, and the shadows crept in, whispering secrets as the answer loomed closer than ever. Would they be prepared for the truth that lay ahead? The fortune teller gathered the cards, her hands moving deliberately as she placed them face down on the table. The dim light flickered, casting mysterious shadows that danced along the walls, almost as if they were alive, responding to the tension between Tom and Jessica. "Before we reveal anything," she said, her voice a low melody that wrapped around them, "take a moment. Breathe. What are the truths you already know? What weighs heaviest on your hearts?" Tom felt the air grow thicker. Jessica shifted slightly, her eyes locked onto the cards as if they held the answers to her silent prayers. He could sense her heart racing beside him, mirroring his own. I know I've hurt you, Jess," he said finally, each word feeling like a stone cast into a still pond, sending ripples through the silence. "I didn't protect you when I should have." The fortune teller nodded, but didn't look up. "And you, Jessica? What do you admit?" Tears pooled in Jessica's eyes, making the carnival lights blur. "I've carried guilt, the feeling that I could have changed things. If I had only spoken sooner, maybe we wouldn't be here." The fortune teller slowly turned the first card. An image of a shattered glass filled the space. "This represents all the fragmentation in your lives, your trust, your love." She paused, allowing the weight of her words to settle in. "But with destruction comes the opportunity to rebuild." "I don't understand." Tom's voice faltered, the fear rising again. "Is it really possible to put the pieces back together?" Only if you're ready to see them for what they are, the fortune teller replied, her gaze piercing. To find strength amid the chaos. Many choose comfort over truth. That choice will guide your next steps. What choice? Jessica asked, her voice thick with emotion. Do we confront the past, or do we walk away from it, pretending it does not exist? The cards will guide you, the fortune teller said softly, turning over another card. It depicted a radiant sun, gleaming amidst stormy clouds. The light can break through, but you'll face the storms first. Healing requires uncovering what you've hidden from yourselves. Tom took a deep breath, the words sizzling in his mind. Could they confront their darkest moments? The anger, the betrayal, the silence. He felt the pain of it all resurface, but beside him, he sensed Jessica's unwavering resolve. What if we fall apart again? He whispered, looking into her determined eyes. What if we can't handle it? Then we will fall apart trying, she replied, her voice steadier now, igniting a flicker of courage in his heart. It's better to know than to live in this torment. The fortune teller spoke again, this time reaching for the final card. This will be pivotal. Ready yourselves. This is a choice commitment to truth or surrender to fear. With a steady hand, she flipped the last card. A grasping vine wound around a heart, with thorns protruding but also vibrant blossoms waiting to bloom. This represents your journey. Pain intertwined with growth. The truth will challenge you, but it can also revive love. Tom felt a rush of emotions. Hope. Fear. Guilt. But mostly, he felt resolve. We want to face it, he said firmly, meeting Jessica's gaze. We choose to fight for us. Jessica nodded. We have to try. The fortune teller smiled subtly, as if she expected their response. Then speak your truths, share your fears, and be prepared for the storms that may come. You're stronger together than apart. The carnival outside hummed with sounds of joy and laughter, but now it felt distant. Inside this small room, the world shrunk down to their shared reality. Tom's heart raced, the tension palpable. He could sense the journey ahead, one fraught with uncertainty and promise. Are you ready? Jessica asked, eyes glistening with courage. We're ready, he affirmed, feeling the warmth of her spirit beside him. But as the fortune teller began to reveal the deeper layers of their souls, a sudden crash echoed from outside the booth, making them jump. The sound of a breaking heart, perhaps. Or was it reality itself crashing into their fragile moment? What awaited them as they unraveled the truths buried deep within? Would they truly be ready for the revelations bound to unfold? The crash outside broke the silence like a thunderclap. Tom's heart raced as he spun around, half expecting to see a wild animal or an irate carnival-goer. But there was nothing. Just the sounds of laughter and joy, which now felt oddly out of place. Turning back to Jessica, he saw that her eyes were wide, reflecting his own concern. That sounded serious, she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Should we? He barely finished the sentence before the fortune teller shook her head. Focus. Let the chaos outside fade away, she instructed softly, bringing her attention back to the cards. You have a storm within that needs to be faced. The outside world is just noise. Tom felt a mix of frustration and fear. But what if we can't do this? What if we're not strong enough? Jessica placed her hand over his. Her warmth spread through him like a soothing balm. We can. We have to believe that confronting the truth is worth the risk. Isn't that what we wanted? He nodded, though doubt clung to his mind like a shadow. Somewhere in his gut, he knew she was right. They couldn't turn back now. Not after they had come this far. Are we truly ready, though? He asked, searching her eyes for affirmation. That's why we're here, she said. To unravel this together. Taking a deep breath, Tom turned back to the fortune teller. She met his gaze with an understanding smile, as if she was watching a butterfly emerge from its cocoon. Then let's begin. Speak your truths. Jessica gulped, then leaned forward. I felt unworthy. Like I failed you, Tom. When I needed you the most, I didn't feel seen. I isolated myself. And I'm afraid that isolation led us here. Tom could feel his heart constricting. He wanted to respond, to reassure her, but emotion choked the words from his throat. Instead, he took a moment to gather himself before saying, I didn't understand your needs. I was selfish. I got lost in my own pain and forgot to check on you. They were hard times, she whispered, her eyes shimmering. But there was still love, wasn't there? I want to believe there was. Yes, there was, he affirmed, intensity coursing through him. But there were also mistakes, big ones. As if waiting for this acknowledgement, the fortune teller leaned forward, her fingers hovering over the cards. Sometimes we need to unearth what we buried to find out how deep our roots go. Are you willing to look at the wounds? Jessica nodded slowly, her resolve shining through the tears in her eyes. If we want to grow, then yes. I'm ready to face it. Good, the fortune teller said, flipping over the shattered glass again. Pain can forge paths of healing, but first, we must understand why we broke. In that moment, the air shifted, and Tom felt like he was stepping into ice-cold water. Everything he tried to suppress came rushing back. I made choices that hurt us both. When I turned away, I let you down. Even when you needed me, I was too proud to admit it. Tension crackled in the small room, a strong current pulling them both deeper into the heart of their shared chaos. You were afraid, Jessica said gently, and you needed me to save you. It's all so twisted, he replied, brushing a hand through his hair, frustration boiling within him. And I don't know how to make it right, but I want to. I want to heal us. Yes. She exclaimed with fervor, a passionate fire igniting in her voice. Admitting all of this, it's the first step, isn't it? The fortune teller's gaze held them captive. It is indeed. Now you must decide, are you brave enough to face the chaos in your hearts so that it doesn't define your future? They locked eyes again, communicating a silent agreement. They were both terrified, but if they were going to heal, they had to step into the storm together. As the fortune teller prepared to delve deeper, the sounds from outside grew louder, merging into the backdrop of their reckoning. Someone shouted in the distance, and it almost drowned out Jessica's murmurs. But just then, another crash resounded, louder this time, gnawing at the edges of their fragile resolve. What was that? Tom said, a hint of dread creeping in. I don't know, but it feels like a warning, Jessica whispered, her brows furrowing, sensing an unseen connection between their revelations and the chaos outside. What threat loomed beyond the safety of their small booth? Would their journey into truth be interrupted, or worse, forever altered? The air around them thickened, charged with a deeper tension. Whatever was taking place outside felt like a harbinger, a loud reminder of their discontent. Tom could feel the warmth of Jessica's hand beginning to cool as uncertainty crept back in. Maybe we should check, he started, a part of him wanting to retreat from this uncomfortable confrontation. No, Jessica cut in. She took a deep breath like she was gathering strength. We need to stay here. We've already opened this door. Let's not let fear pull us away. We can't backtrack now. Her assertiveness rang like a bell in his heart. There was something fierce about her courage, and it kindled a flame inside him. You're right, he conceded, though he could feel the pulse of anxiety quickening. Let us not abandon this moment. The fortune teller, sensing their resolve, leaned forward with an intensity that felt almost ethereal. Now, you must both continue. The chaos outside may be frightening, but your inner turmoil is where the real battle lies. Tom. Jessica said softly, her voice barely breaking the tension. What do you need to say? He swallowed hard. Each word felt like a weight tied to his conscience. I need to admit I've harbored resentment. When you pulled away, I felt abandoned. I blamed you for not letting me in. But, looking back, I see I was just as responsible for the distance between us. Her expression shifted, a flash of understanding mixed with pain. I was trying to protect myself, but I see now that by shutting you out, I hurt us both. The fortune teller nodded, her fingers lightly tracing the edges of the cards. Facing these admissions is essential. But it's time to uncover the core of your struggles. What do you fear most about healing? Tom's mind raced. That it might not be enough, he replied. What if we face all this and still it doesn't change anything? That's the risk we take, Jessica said, her voice thick with emotion. But we owe it to ourselves to try. We deserve peace. The fortune teller's gentle smile slowly faded. She positioned her hands over a card depicting a rising sun breaking through storm clouds. Hope is powerful. But without confronting the storm, the sun cannot shine fully. Are you ready to face what lies beneath your fears? They looked at each other, and it felt like the world outside faded further away. A quiet resolve formed between them. Yes, they said in unison, voices shaky yet certain. In that moment of honesty, the boisterous laughter of the carnival held a stark contrast to the heaviness in the booth. A sound echoed an unmistakable shout, this time followed by a collective gasp. It jerked them back to reality, and fear took root again. Tom leaned closer to Jessica, his heart pounding in sync with the chaotic unfamiliarity surrounding them. We can do this, can't we? He asked, needing reassurance. Together, she replied, squeezing his hand. We're facing this storm side by side. The fortune teller observed intently, her smile now strained. It felt as if she held the weight of their unspoken fears, balancing on the edge of revelation. Then let us draw another card. The next will guide you deeper into your truth. But remember, the chaos outside may reflect unhealed parts of yourselves. What you learn here can resonate beyond these walls. Tom felt an unsettling dread, but also a flutter of hope. They were on the edge of something big. As the fortune teller shuffled the cards, another loud crash came from outside, unyielding and disconcerting. What if it's a sign? Jessica whispered, her eyes wide, caught between fear and determination. Maybe it is, Tom said, catching her gaze. But we have to find out. Would their confrontation lead them to healing, or would the impending chaos drown out their chance at redemption? The fortune teller placed the next card face down on the table, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. Tom felt a knot in his stomach, every instinct urging him to run, to forget any further introspection. But Jessica held strong, her grip on his hand solid, her determination unwavering. Let me, she whispered, her eyes glistening. She took a deep breath and nodded at the fortune teller. I need to see it. Ready? Tom gulped, a wave of uncertainty washing over him. What if the reveal tore open wounds they were only starting to comprehend? Still, he leaned into her resolve, trusting that together they could weather whatever storm awaited them. The fortune teller flipped the card. A spiral staircase approached, leading down into a dark abyss, shadowy and foreboding. This is your quest to dig deeper, to confront the fears that reside in the dark corners of your hearts, she said softly. What are you both afraid of? Jessica swallowed hard, her voice trembling but fierce. What if this truth shatters us beyond repair? What if I can't come back from my mistakes? It's fear of living in a constant loop of hurt, Tom echoed, feeling the vulnerability that his words laid bare. Of our children suffering because we couldn't figure it out. The fortune teller nodded, her eyes filled with compassion. But remember, confronting these fears is the path to growth. Embracing vulnerability can be liberating. It is through these shadows that you'll find strength. Tom felt the intensity of the moment. The laughter outside faded again, replaced by a haunting echo of uncertainty. So, what do we do first? He asked, his voice wavering. Share the secrets that haunt you, she instructed, her demeanor patient and wise. The fears that keep you from healing. Lay them bare. Only through honesty can healing begin. Jessica nodded, her expression resolute. I need to start. I'm afraid you won't look at me the same way after this. Try me, Tom urged, wanting to shield her with the strength of his own vulnerability. What do you fear most? I fear that I'll always be that person who made the biggest mistake, she admitted, her eyes flickering with tears. That I'll never be able to show you the woman you fell in love with. Jess, you made a mistake. But it doesn't define who you are. He leaned closer, his voice thick with emotion. I see who you are in these moments of honesty. She sighed, relief mingling with anxiety. What if I can't overcome it? What if I can't ever really come back? Then we'll face that together too, he said fiercely. But hiding from it won't help. It never has, right? The fortune teller studied them, her gaze a comforting anchor. You must face these fears head on. What do you want to build? Tom and Jessica locked eyes, the fabric of their unresolved feelings swirling between them. I want to build trust, she said finally, her voice steady. But it takes time. I wish I could take back my actions, but I can't. And I need to forgive to allow love to bloom again, Tom added, feeling an unexpected heaviness in his chest. But I need patience from you too. Patience and honesty. With renewed clarity, Jessica nodded, emotions washing over her. We have to take small steps. Maybe open communication about everything from what led you to feel abandoned, to how I let us both down. Yes, Tom replied, a flicker of hope igniting. We need to keep talking about the layers of our pain if we're to heal completely. The fortune teller's expression softened. Good. Repairing takes time, like mending an old quilt. Each patch brings you closer to warmth, together. You're right, Jessica said, wiping her eyes. And it'll be hard acknowledging each stitch of hurt, letting it be known without shying away. Exactly, Tom agreed, heart racing at their shared commitment. We can withstand it. Together. A sudden commotion erupted outside, the sound of pounding feet and concerned whispers. It jolted their focus as the noise intensified. A shadow of dread gripped Tom. Should we? He started. No, Jessica replied fiercely, her voice unwavering. We owe it to ourselves to see this through. The fortune teller cleared her throat, sensing their hesitation. Facing your fears means confronting the chaos outside as well. Only then can you bring clarity back into focus. As apprehension coursed through them, Tom felt a swell of courage rise, another piece of their journey casting shadows behind them. Ready? He murmured to Jessica, squeezing her hand. Ready as we can be, she replied, eyes shining with determination. Let us take that leap together. With their hearts pounding in unison, they stepped outside the booth, hand in hand, ready to unveil their truths amidst a world still in chaos. The vibrant lights danced around them, yet their focus was singular, the light they held within, igniting the path ahead. As they emerged, the noise grew louder, and they could see a small crowd gathered, eyes wide with concern. What's happening? Jessica whispered, alarm creeping in. Tom gripped her hand tighter, breathing through the unexpected rush of tension as they moved to the front of the crowd. A commotion broke, people skirmishing back. There stood Ben, his expression a mixture of regret and expectation. I needed to talk to you both, he said, fear rippling through the air. Tom's heart sank. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. They stepped into a new chapter, but Ben's presence felt like an uninvited guest, darkening the threshold of their redemption. Things need to be addressed, Ben started, his voice urgent. Before they spiral further out of control. What do you mean? Jessica questioned, fear weaving through her words. Truth is messy, Ben replied cautiously, but the burdens of the moment shifted towards them, exposing the driving vortex of their journey. And sometimes revelations can reshape everything. What awaited them as the opening notes of confrontation lingered in the air? Would they have the strength to navigate this storm together, or would this new storm expose the cracks where they were most vulnerable? Only time would tell as they each gripped the fragile threads of truth, standing on the precipice of their intertwined fates. Now, dear listeners, this is where your support matters. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like to feed the algorithm and help this story reach more hearts. Don't wait, comment your reactions and feelings about this gripping ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support.